I hope that somebody is listening who wants to be a Christian but feels like they can't because of the doubt and confusion, because I think that that's where I have existed for a long time of like, am I even a Christian? Does this exclude me? So I hope that somebody is listening like me who could hear that it's normal to have doubt, and it doesn't mean that they're left out.
Well, welcome back to the Finding Something Real podcast, Fred. This is your host, Janell Wood, and I am so grateful that you are back listening today because I have another special person to introduce to you today as she's joining me as a co-host on this program. This one's pretty special, although everybody I've introduced to you has been special, or everyone that I will introduce to you is special. But, last year I took a sabbatical after 5 years of podcasting. I wasn't sure what the future would hold. I was praying a lot about if I were ever to do the podcast again, what that might look like. And just felt like I had to release a lot of hopes and dreams that I had for what finding something real could be, and just move on from that and keep praying. And I think I've shared a little bit of the story before, but anyway, my husband and I, we were walking every morning and praying every morning, and a lot of those prayers were for finding something real. And at the end of April in 2025, I get this random out of the blue email from my co-host today. And Sarah, that was you.
Yeah, it was.
Instead of me telling the story,
Mm-hmm.
it'd be awesome if you tell it. Tell me about that email, what that was.
Sure, yeah. So I was introduced to the podcast by a friend in 2024 and had been listening and just felt prompted to keep that in the back of my mind as maybe something I could be connected to in the future. Um, and then it would come back to my mind every few months, like, yeah, I should do that at some point. I should just reach out to this person and see how I could be involved somehow. And in April, I guess it just got strong enough that I decided to take the plunge and just, yeah, send a random email of like, you don't know who I am, but but here I am, ready to partner with you however I can in this. And totally had no idea if you got hundreds of those emails and you'd be like, you wouldn't even be aware of mine. But I took the risk, and here we are.
It was a really sweet email. And I remember thinking, yeah, no, I don't get hundreds of these. I've been praying for one.
Yeah.
um, and it was very, very sweet. And I think you shared a little bit of your story in that first email. And then we got on a Zoom call and then another Zoom
Hmm.
call. And I
Hmm.
basically told you, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing, but I've been praying for an open door, and this feels like you're an answer to prayer. So I want to pray into this. And you were so sweet because I remember you said, I'm along for the ride,
Hmm.
and that you felt like you could trust me, which was like, oh, I don't know if you can, but I'll try. But it was pretty great. And I took notes when we met during those couple of Zoom calls that we had in the springtime, and I remember just thinking that I really did want to podcast with you because you were, I don't know where you are now. In fact, I'm excited to, because it's been a few months, to find out where you're at in your spiritual journey. But you definitely had questions. You were exactly the kind of person that I started this podcast for. And you were open about those things and very both relatable, vulnerable, and very articulate and thoughtful in the way that you expressed yourself. And I was like, who is this girl? Like, where did she come from? God, really? Like, you answered my prayers. Which,
Oh.
even though I've been walking with the Lord for a long time, and I should know better because he's done it so many times, like, when he answers a prayer like that so directly, um, it's so, you just feel like you're his favorite. That's how I felt, like,
Mm.
just really, just a kiss from heaven, was how I felt when I met you. So, Sarah, if you don't mind, welcome to the podcast, by the way, and
Thank you.
tell people a little bit about who you are and your story.
Okay, yes, good question. I'm 24. I am from Chicago, but living on Whidbey Island in Washington right now. Um, I grew up in the church and in a Christian family, and um, yeah, we can get into to that story, but have just struggled a lot going through what like coming out of childhood and now being an adult on my own, deciding if I'm claiming that faith as my own, and what that means to me and how I can live it out. And yeah, I've been moving around the past few years and experiencing some different spiritual traditions and trying to find my place in that. So, yeah, right now I've been living in Washington for a year and um, I work on farms and love being outside. And yeah.
Mm. So, okay, I want to dig into that a little bit.
hmm
You said you grew up in the church. Tell me more about that, and tell me about your personal relationship with Jesus and what that has been like.
hmm Yes. So I was in a non-denominational megachurch growing up most of my younger years and then into high school. Um, I decided I'm not sure exactly when, but I think like 14, 15, that I was not a Christian, that I did not believe in God or that he wasn't relevant to my life. And it was kind of something in my mind that I would deal with later.
Mm.
And so I started just living life how I wanted to and not by any set of rules from God or from the Bible. And
Real quick. So,
yeah.
sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to unpack this a little bit. So,
hmm
up until the time you were 14 or 15,
hmm
had you been someone who, like, what had been your heart posture towards your faith? And had you had a bunch of questions, or what led to that
hmm
14 or 15-year-old going, yeah, I'm not in this?
It's it's so hard for me to remember a lot of my a lot of my childhood, honestly, which is sad. But I I think I was a very legalistic
Mm,
person. Like I have three older brothers, and I would just love to think of all the things they were doing wrong and how I was doing it all right. And um, and I think I did not experience so much of a personal relationship with God. It was more like um, I'd go to church, go to Awana. I would sing all the songs, and I don't really remember having any sense of it being a personal
mm,
relationship. I remember I started to ask questions to my mom. Like I remember sitting on my bed and asking her about why we thank God for the good that He does, but we can't credit Him with all the bad that happens.
mm,
Like if He's in control, then why do we only credit him with the good? And so I had questions in my mind, and I just isolated myself a lot and didn't like express a lot of those questions, and so I didn't get the answers to them, and just decided that God was, I guess, shallower than I was okay with,
Mm,
because I wasn't finding the satisfaction
mm,
that I guess I felt that I needed
mm,
at that time. So it felt easy to walk away because I was interested in other things,
mm,
and God was like holding me back.
mm.
So yeah, I
What,
dropped him.
why do you think you isolated yourself and you didn't ask the questions?
Social anxiety. I was homeschooled and I did not have a very vibrant social life.
Mm,
I found it a lot easier to just be on my own, and I enjoyed that a lot, and spent a lot more time with animals than with people.
mm,
And yeah, I also struggle with pride a lot, so I guess I was thinking like I'm just on my own with my internal thought life, and none of these people understand me, and I
mm,
didn't want to invite them into that.
mm.
And yeah, I
Did that
had a lot of fear.
did that apply to your mom too? You said you remember asking her a question. Did you feel like
Mm.
she didn't have sufficient answers, or was there a fear of asking her?
I don't think there was a fear. I think to me it felt like the answers she would give me were like textbook and not really grappling with the situation as I felt.
Mm,
Um, it needed an appropriate depth, and I guess I couldn't get that from her.
mhm,
And it's kind of like the mother relationship. For some reason, you don't trust what your mother says as much as you would from somebody else.
mhm.
It's an unfortunate reality.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when you were 14 or 15, you said, "Yeah, I think you said you dropped God." Did you
hmm
tell anyone that you did that, or did you just keep it to yourself?
Yeah, I told my parents by refusing communion in church.
Mm,
Like, they passed the plate and I let it pass by me, and I think they asked me afterwards, or somehow it came up. Um, and I was like, yeah, I'm just not accepting this right now. And I think, I mean, I was definitely living a life that was not godly, and I think that they weren't like super aware of all of that,
mm,
but I'm sure they could tell that I was not listening to them or leaning into what God had for me.
mm.
I don't know. It's a good question. I should ask them about like how they interpreted that time.
When you say you weren't living a godly life, what do you mean? For someone who's watching this or listening to it. Um,
mm,
yeah.
boys. Yeah. um,
Homeschool boys.
no. No. No, I had a job um at a restaurant by
Mm,
me, and that was kind of like my introduction to the world.
mm,
I started that when I was 15, or I just turned 16, somewhere around
okay.
there. And yeah, um was suddenly around people doing drugs and drinking a lot and swearing a lot, and like I had not been very exposed to that.
Mm,
Um, yeah, I made decisions that I'm very much not proud of,
mm.
but
Were they
but I
enjoyable
was,
at the time?
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I was sure that I was making good choices at that time. Like I was very, very confident that I was doing not the right thing, but like what I wanted to.
Mhm,
And looking back on that now, I just feel some shame about
mm,
like how my mind was so twisted.
mm. So, okay, so up until that point, had you been baptized? Do you remember asking Jesus into your heart? That all of that stuff that's normally correlated with,
Yeah.
growing up in the church.
hmm
Yeah.
No, I don't have a time when I like would have said I was saved.
Mhm,
yeah, just one of those like you are growing up and kind
Mhm.
of accept it as truth. But I was not baptized partly because of the social anxiety. I just thought I could never get on a stage because our church you had to get up in front of like 500 people and give your testimony
Oh,
and
wow.
into a microphone, and I
Did your
was
brothers do that?
um at least one of them. Yeah, I think one of them might have gotten baptized at camp, but yeah, like that. So I was looking for those alternative
Mhm.
ways, like, oh, if I plan to do it at camp, then I can get out of the the public speaking part. But no, I was not baptized as a kid.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Okay, so around 15, maybe 16, you start working at that job, and
Mhm.
um, it was fun for a while. Then what happened?
So when I turned 18. I just graduated high school and I did not want to go into college. I didn't really have a plan, but I love horses. And so I decided that my life path was going to be working at a barn and moving away. So I moved from Chicago to South Carolina to work with horses. And was there completely on my own. My mom drove me down and then left, and I cried for like half an hour. and and I was on my own, and I thought that the idea that you're like when you're in a new place, you're going to be this whole new person and everything's going to change. It's all going to be better. Um, I thought that that's what was going to happen, that I would just create this whole new life for myself and it was going to be great. This was like my first taste of adult freedom. And instead, in the first week, I just felt crippled by like overwhelming anxiety and thinking that I'm not going to have this life that I thought was waiting for me here.
Mm,
Um, like, I'm not brave enough to be this social person. I'm not gonna make all the connections that I thought I was going to have. Like, yeah, it just all fell apart in my mind. And um, it was October 1st, 2019. I had a day off from work and I was sitting out on the deck. And at that time, I had already been like a little bit warming up to the Bible and God again. And I think I had been reading a little bit, talking with my mom about it. And that day, I decided that I believed it again,
mm,
that I wanted God in my life and that I was willing to surrender to Him.
mm,
So that's what I count as my salvation date now.
mm. Was so tell me a little bit more about that. So you went from yeah, you weren't he wasn't on your radar, you were going to do your own
Hmm.
thing, to now you're in a new place, everything
Hmm.
feels foreign and you realize it's
Hmm.
not all it's cracked up to be.
Yep.
And yeah, and you said you'd already been kind of warming up to the idea of the Bible. What made you break like that?
Hmm. I really don't know. I, I, yeah, I had been in a relationship, um, and then graduated high school and broke up with the guy, um, and I had been starting to ask those questions. Like I remember with him, I was asking, like, what, like purpose questions, like, what is the point of this? Like, yeah, what are we doing here? What is actually the barrier to believing in God? So I was already thinking that way intellectually, and I guess I was just not ready at that time yet because I still thought I could make it on my own.
Mhm,
Um, and so I think that the move and realizing I did not have what it takes and like I'm not the person that is capable of what I thought I wanted for myself. It just like, I guess, humbled me
Mm,
and made me ready to accept God as the savior and not like I could save myself.
mm. Did you feel like at that time it was about Jesus, or was it at that point like, yeah, I just need God. I need
Yeah.
something more than myself.
That's such a fair question. I think it was the latter. I think that it was this like emotional need,
Mhm.
that I just wanted to not feel so alone.
Yeah.
And so that is why it has felt so hard in continuing in faith,
Mm,
because that to me felt like a very emotional decision and not
mm,
like I had all the intellectual pieces that I feel like I really need now.
mm.
Uh,
Tell me more about that. The last 6 years. Tell me,
mhm,
since you made that decision, about your journey and where you're at now.
mhm. So the first year was great. First year I was like getting into Bible studies. I started going to a church. I kind of found like the social community so encouraging. And I think I started to read some books and just felt like the like on fire for God, kind of very sure that this was right and good. And um, I'm not exactly sure. I should look back through some journals, but I started to have the questions pop up in my mind again. Um, and yeah, I continued to do a little bit of moving around, and always kind of felt in the Christian circles a little bit like the outsider,
Mm,
like um, like everybody else felt so confident about God and would say things about God like they knew him, like God said this to me today, or like, God is so good for this reason. And I wasn't saying those things. Um, that felt unnatural to me.
mm,
And so I would go to all of the things and participate and just still feel like a little bit of the outsider. And um, still struggle with some of the social anxiety and keep that let that keep me from like praying publicly or things that I felt like I should do if I was a Christian truly.
mm,
Um, so yeah, so I in 2023, I think, I started doing an apprenticeship at my church back in Chicago, and at the start of that, I felt so sure that um, doing the apprenticeship, like being in the church. We were also doing some college classes, just like Bible survey stuff. I thought that was going to solve all of my problems. I was going to come out like so sure of who God is and feel like purpose in ministry, and just that I would be able to live the rest of my life very confident in my trajectory of trusting God and knowing that He is real, and
mm,
that He loves me and that He's like present in my life. And yeah, instead of that happening, it was a really tumultuous time um, spiritually for me, because I felt like it brought up even more questions and caused me to doubt God even more. And I would say not in ways like, God, why would you let this happen? But like, God, if you let this happen, are you even real? Like, is there
mm,
even anything on the other side of this?
mm,
Or are we making all of this up? And kind of constantly going through the up and downs of trying to trust God and trying to live my life according to how He has instructed. And then also having that overwhelming doubt of,
Mm.
I don't even know if you're here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's been the past few years of just like clinging to, I think this might be true, but I'm I don't feel like I'm doing it the right way if I still feel this much doubt.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah.
Um, I do have one follow-up question, and it's I feel like as you were talking, I had it in my head, and I thought, well, it sounds kind of pointed. So if it sounds pointed out of my mouth, it's not meant to. I just don't know how else to ask it. But
Shoot.
you mentioned you mentioned that it wasn't really about Jesus when you
Hmm.
were growing up, and it wasn't
Yeah.
really about him when you came to the like, look, I can't do this myself.
Yeah.
Um, has it ever been about him?
Mm. I think so. I think I get these glimpses and I get these moments, especially like in worship, or in quiet time, of like, I need this. I need a savior. I need Jesus to be real, and I want his example. I want to know that that's trustworthy. And so, yes, I think at times it is, and it's hard to keep that though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's fair. And you've been on an active quest. I remember when you came to me a few months ago, and I was like reading all of the podcasts that you listened to, and I mean, some of the greats, Unbelievable, I think with Justin
Hmm.
Brierley,
Hmm.
and also on the other end of the spectrum, Alex O'Connor. Was he the Cosmic Skeptic? Is that what he?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Within Reason is what it's called now. Yeah.
yeah. But you've listened to a lot of different things.
Hmm.
Um, and usually I ask this at the end, but I know I asked you this when we zoomed together, and you had a really thoughtful response, and then a few months or like a month later, you had a different response because you said, "I've been thinking about that." But I asked you, I said, you listen to all these things, you've heard all these apologetic arguments, you've heard what Christians
Hmm.
have to say. It's not like you're immune to what, if we invite guests on here, what they might say to you. What do you hope to get from being on
Hmm.
this podcast, and why did you reach out, Sarah?
Hmm. I wonder how different my answer will be this time. I'm curious. Yeah, I want to connect with people like me. I want to know that I'm not alone in this. And I don't think that I am, but
Yeah.
it's hard to find those people. Um, I really I want to know what is true,
Hmm.
and I want accountability for that instead of, like you said, consuming information all of the time. I want somebody to say, this is it, now make a choice. And not a lot of people are willing to do that. Like, people don't want to hold you accountable to things. And I think that's really important for me right now is to face what is real. And um but I have a high standard for what that truth is. And so having, yeah, the like added encouragement with this podcast to really figure that out and get to the bottom of it, is, yeah, I think why I want to do this.
Hmm. What are some of the questions you would love to seek some accountability for, or some answers
Mm,
for, that you could just come back to and go, okay, asked and answered, or asked and now I get to wrestle with that because it was spoken directly to me? What are those
mm-hmm,
questions? Yeah.
mm-hmm. Right now, the one especially on my mind is how we can know what is true.
Mm.
Um, Everybody has their beliefs, and their opinions. And I know that there is something true. I know that there is objective truth. But to say that we know it and that we know it to a point that we can tell other people what it is.
Mm,
So that's my number one right now. I think another one right now is biblical reliability.
mhm,
I don't feel a lot of confidence in the Bible, um, but if that's the foundation for Christianity, I think that's really important.
mhm,
And so I want to know exactly what like how to read it so that I can know what God is trying to communicate to me.
mm,
Because that I think is a source of a lot of confusion right now for me.
mhm.
Um, those are two. I can go on if you want
Yeah,
more.
yes, yes, I do want you to go on. I
Okay.
want you to be able here's the idea, right? I would love for you, it could be live, right, when we're having these conversations, but it could be a year from now, 10 years from now, for you to be able to come back to these episodes and for you to go, okay, what did that person share with me that
Mhm.
I needed to hear then, but maybe even more so you need to hear it, like future Sarah needs to hear it. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Um, that's one of the like huge blessings of podcasting or putting this out here, right, in the world,
Mhm.
is that you would be able to come back and go, that was for me. That
Mhm.
was, and sometimes I feel like this is true for my life. I don't know if it's true for you, but there's times when people say something to me and I only receive part of it. And then later I'll rewatch a conversation, even a podcast episode, and I'll be like, wait a second, I don't even remember that part of the conversation. And it's as if the Holy Spirit uses something and illuminates something different at a different time. And
Mhm.
so feel free to ask whatever you want here. Don't leave anything back because, like I told you, we're going to be going on, we're going to explore a lot of these things. And I don't want you to miss out on the opportunity to explore things that have been bothering you. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Just stop me once my
go
list gets
ahead.
too long.
Just do it.
Um, okay, so another one would be and like you said, it's hard because I feel like I have heard a lot of the textbook
Mhm,
answers, but for some reason they're not satisfying to me. But so one of them would be what happens to people who are not reached or even to people who are but don't accept God. Like what is the idea of hell? Um, is that actual torture? Is that
mhm,
just a space without God? And so it's what they would actually want. Like I've heard so many different angles
mhm,
on that, and it's like the fear tactic that people use, right? Like believe in God so you don't go to hell.
mhm,
And I just find that annoying to use that
mhm,
for people, but I want to understand what that idea is, because I think it's hard for me to tell other people about God, when they think that if they don't believe God is sending them to hell.
mhm,
And um, yeah, there's just so much in that I would like to figure out, like what is God actually communicating.
mhm,
Um, and so that's one. Original sin in that, and the idea of like why would God create all of us if he knew it was going to happen, which is billions of people going to hell, whatever that is.
mhm,
um yeah, like that idea of good people, um but them not being Christians, and like actually they're probably doing better things than Christians are, but just because they don't believe in a certain God means they're not going to heaven.
mhm,
Um, that
mhm,
Calvinism and Arminianism, like that is a huge, yeah, debate to me, that I was pretty, um, I was pretty like paralyzed by when I found out about that. The, yeah, just the difference between a God is, um, who is in control of our salvation, like almost like we don't have free will. And then, yeah.
Mm, those are good. And original sin would kind of be lumped into some of that Calvinism and Arminianism and
hmm
Molinism. Are you
hmm
familiar with the Molinism stuff?
Somewhat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let me see what else you put in your list here because I don't want to miss
Oh, yeah.
anything because you had more time to think through this before.
Right.
Um, let's see. I think extraordinary evidence is required for an extraordinary claim. You
Mm,
put in parentheses the resurrection. Is
yes.
that something that you would want to talk to someone about too?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. Yes, like I said, I think I have a higher standard for truth, than what I've heard from other people of like, why are we trusting something from 2000 years ago that, yes, there is evidence for, like, I understand that there is evidence for it, but the strength of evidence that we're going to base our whole lives on it, that seems a little less reliable to me. Um, so yeah, and I've heard the arguments. I know that it is it's somewhat more logical to believe in Jesus rising than to believe that it's a myth. But it's not rock solid, and I would really like it to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anything else while you're not gonna get away with forgetting anything here.
hmm
You got anything else off the top of your head? I looked over the questions you wrote down, very articulate, but very similar to the ones you just expressed. So,
hmm
um, but I don't want to miss
Mm,
anything.
one more recent
Yeah.
one would be about creation and evolution. Like,
Okay.
I'm not a big science person, but I have been thinking about how science impacts our view on God, and yeah, how we treat the Bible as, are we treating that as information that God wanted to give us that like science can contradict, or do we just interpret it in ways that kind of gets around that? Um, so yeah, things like creation, which is a big one. That's been that's been a recent question.
Okay. That's good. Okay. That's great material, Sarah. And then also, let's see, I asked about in this form that we filled out or that you filled out a while ago. Um, if the church had negatively impacted you, and you said just sometimes your experience with people who made up the church had negatively impacted you at times because you needed
hmm
something different than what they offered. Tell me a little bit more about that.
hmm I think I don't want to use like labeling words all the time, but I think, to my experience, I felt very disillusioned by the
Mhm.
church. Like growing up in a conservative homeschool Christian circle, and growing up in it, it's presented to you like this is the only way, and this is what you have to believe, and like we're the right ones. So if you go to anywhere else, even if they still believe in God and Jesus, it's it's wrong.
Mm,
So yeah, I think how I felt like it, I couldn't like say it hurt me, but it impacted me in thinking that I couldn't have an open mind.
mm,
And in that case, if you see what's in front of you and think that that's the only way to believe in God, and you can't accept what they're presenting, then it's like, okay, I'll just throw the whole thing away.
Mm.
So I would rather not interact with the God of the universe in such like a simple way like that, and that's how I feel like it negatively
Mm.
affected me.
Mm. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question that I don't normally ask people. So, if you can imagine yourself 10 years from now,
Mm-hmm.
where would you want to be faith wise?
Hmm. Hmm. I think about that sometimes. Just yeah, like what would I like to, I think I would like to be confident in what I believe, and yet I would still like to be searching.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which I think you can always with God. Like he's an endless, infinite thing. um, um, Subject, yeah. But yeah, so I don't think that I am really even wanting to be completely settled in that, like, I don't still wonder about things because I think I always will. But I would like to know that God is there,
Mm.
um, and be sure of that, and not have the terror of, like, what if I die and nothing's there?
Mm.
Or, like, what if I die and I'm unprepared to face God? Like, I feel pretty unprepared right now.
Mm.
Um, because yeah, I believe in God. Oh, that's another thing I want to, it's like a question in my mind is like, um, what is the difference between believing and knowing?
Mm.
Because I feel like I feebly believe in God, but I don't know that He's there.
Mm.
And it seems to me that Christians present it like they know God is there and they know that He is for them,
Mm.
and I don't know that. I believe, like, I'm choosing to believe it, but it still feels like a stretch to me a
Mm.
lot of the time. Um, yeah. So now I can't even remember the original question. Oh yeah, where I want to be. So, so I would like to feel stronger in my belief,
Mm.
and feel like I had something to offer the people around me instead of like always be asking them for more and like for their stories. I want to be able to share something about God to them.
Mm. Yeah. You've mentioned sharing your faith a couple of times. Is that something that you do on a regular basis, or is it something that's
Mm.
hard because of where you're at? Uh, Tell me a little bit about that.
Mm. I love engaging with people about God. So, because I do feel uncertain, um, I think that actually has made it feel easier to talk about God because I'm not scared of being wrong.
Mm.
I feel like I'm still trying to know what is true. And so if people give me their own stories or their own opinions, I'm not forcing anything on them, and I'm not afraid to hear that they disagree with me. So it's actually made it like a very fun and and encouraging thing to me to be able to ask questions to people, and I share that, like, I am a Christian, and I ask them questions like, what do you believe about God? What do you think about the historical evidence for Jesus? What do you think about the Bible, like, having such a lasting impact in our world? And I actually really love engaging with people like that if they are open to it. So I'm not like going up to people off the street or anything, um, but yes, in my kind of social circles, I try to engage with people about those things.
Yeah. Why are you still a Christian at this point?
Because I still believe that there's something there. There's so much richness in faith, and I I would say I a lot of the time am like maybe 75-25 like belief. um and it goes up and down, and I almost like can't let it go. Like I want to have purpose for my life, and I want to have something to like as a foundation. Um, and yet I don't want to make it up on my own. Like I don't want to be tricked into something that is false. So I have a lot of caution around it, but I I love the tradition um, of faith, and like going to church is really sweet to me, and being in community, and still knowing that I am broken and that I do need a savior, and like hoping that Jesus is my savior there, but still a little unsure.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited because I think we're going to have some great conversations on here, and hopefully things that you can come back to and go, wow, you know, and I'm praying that the Holy Spirit just moves for you in this because as you are familiar with, because you were in Awanas, and I know you know some of your scriptures.
Yes.
Those who seek Him will find Him when they seek Him with all their heart.
Hmm.
And Sarah, you are a seeker. Um, you're somebody who I think, uh, at least appears to me, to be somebody who's really after the truth.
Hmm.
And if Jesus is who he says he is, which is the way, the truth, and the life, you shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free,
Hmm.
then I think we can push into some of these questions. Um, and he didn't make a mistake when he made you cerebral and an investigator of things, you know. And I'm excited for you to be here and to explore these things, and also for people to get to know you and get to hear their own questions articulated through you.
Hmm.
Um, because I imagine that there's somebody listening right now, maybe multiple people, who can really relate to your story. Um, so, uh, final question that I always ask, and you've heard it, I'm sure, a million times, but the Finding Something Real podcast, Sarah, is about finding something real with Jesus. Jesus offers something that nobody else does: restoration, eternity, authenticity, and love. Of those four things that we can find in Jesus Christ, which stands out to you the most in your life right now, and why?
Hmm. This is the one question I was prepared for because I knew it was coming. Um, Restoration is the one that sticks out to me. I I'm tired of living in a broken world, and I'm tired of being a broken person with a broken mind and a broken body, and if Jesus can offer me that hope that he will make all things new, that is exciting to me.
Mm, yeah. Amen. Well, Sarah, let's go. It's going to be fun. I'm excited for the conversations. Thank you. Thank you for emailing me. Thank you for being the impetus for a lot of crazy stuff that's already happened this season, and
Hmm.
can't wait to see what's next. So
Hmm. Me too.
until until next time. I remember when you reached out to me, and we were just talking about this around last year when you had sent me an email, and then we started to get to know each other. And you said, I'm going to prioritize this, and you have. How come? Why are you here? Why does it matter to you?
I think this has become a little bit of a like consistent thread in my life of gaining more faith in the Lord throughout hearing people's perspectives and their stories and feeling like I'm getting more answers and truth. It is my desperation that keeps me coming back and wanting to learn more.
Do you feel like you're in a different place than you were a year ago when you reached out to me?
100%. Yeah, I was just talking about that today with a friend. It's really amazing to see the Lord's faithfulness to me and his graciousness. It's been wild.
Yeah, and there's a peace over you that's a little different than our first conversations, would you say?
I would say, and people have said that about me, which is really cool to hear. Yeah.